we are having technical difficulties with Kieran's computer. So, um, yes, we will be starting. But yeah, Kieran is having some issues, and Sam's not here, so we will be here as soon as possible.
I love you. Hey, yo. I love you.
You're listening to Second Cut. This is the independent film podcast where we talk about topics in film theory, criticism, history, etc. I'm Jacob, and I'm the one who, I don't know, I read Superman, so go read that.
I'm Kieran. I'm the one who I think Lex Luthor is interfering with my electrical signals. So if I sound a little bit tinny, Superman can't even save it from tech issues.
Yeah. If you're watching this and you think Kieran is unbearable to listen to, his audio, not him, put it.
Both. Thank you for saving that.
Please put it in the chat, and we will figure something out. Yeah. Also, saying tinny, that makes me think of that Monty Python bit.
Which bit in Monty Python?
And they say, that sounds tinny. It's a tinny word.
Which one?
I don't remember. There's the other words that are like woody or something like that.
Neat. Sorry.
That's tinny. Anyway, we're talking about Superman, not Monty Python. That's probably another episode.
Yeah. We will do a Monty Python. To be honest, there are 3 Monty Python movies, so at some point we should just take the 3 of them and do it like that. That might be a even better way to do it.
It's, by the way, it's woody and tinny words.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the name of the sketch. So there you go.
We should just do a whole thing about how Monty Python has infiltrated popular culture. Like the fact that spam emails are generally named after Monty Python.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so they did a sketch about spam, which is the tinned meat that they used to have a lot of after the war. They still got it now. Guy goes into a cafe trying to get something, and all they've got are just things with various levels of spam, including like spam, beans, eggs, and spam, that kind of thing. It just goes on for 4 minutes, getting gradually worse and worse. There's a load of Vikings in it for some reason. Uh, and so when they came up with something for spam emails, they came up with that. Also, the coding language Python is named after Monty Python as well.
Okay, I didn't know that either.
I know, it's amazing.
So
but we
they
talked
they had
about
a
Superman, so-
they had a spam obsession before Holy Grail too. So good to know.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah, we're talking about some Superman films. We didn't watch the serials from the 40s or the 1950s movie with old man Superman.
Yeah, we kind of watched the kind of the main ones from the Donna timeline, really the timeline, if you can say that. Essentially, the big movies before Man of Steel, because Zack Snyder has done some good things. Man of Steel, I was not the biggest fan of, and yeah, the less said about BVS, the better. Which is one of the reasons why I have not watched the Snyder cut of Justice League yet, because I was one of the rare people that actually thought that Justice League, the Whedon cut, was a slight improvement, purely because it didn't take itself so miserably seriously. It's just like, let's just have some fun. This is Justice League. Do we really need it to be dark and gritty? So I actually found it slightly more entertaining than the others. And I was like, oh no, it's ruined the Snyder vision. And like 4 hours of grimness. Like, no, can't bothered.
Yeah, it's interesting where and also we didn't watch animated movies. We didn't watch TV series. There's a lot more Superman media out there than I thought. But you know, it's vast and it has a lot of issues on the silver screen.
I was going to say, for this, I mean, I'm not a comics person. I've kind of seen enough and will watch it when I need them, when I need to, for whatever reason. So I'm a couple of Marvel behind. I think the most up-to-date DC I saw was probably something like Wonder Woman 2, which I can remember nothing of, other than obviously Gal Gadot and Chris Pine are in it, and that's about it. Isn't David Thewlis the bad guy as well, or is that the first one? I can't remember.
Here's the great thing about the DCU is all you need to have seen is Superman. That is it. Creature Commandos is part of it, but you don't have to watch it. And Gunn does bring in, like, you know, I mean, John Cena's still Peacemaker, like in the current universe and all that. But the slate is wiped clean. It is whatever it is now.
Yeah. I mean, I may have seen either the first Aquaman or the second Aquaman in the cinemas as well. But yeah. So for this, we kind of we're focusing on the 1978 Richard Donner Christopher Reeves film, and then its various sequels. So I did watch the 3 sequels plus Supergirl as well, and then we will be looking at Superman Returns, which is technically then like the third in that timeline. They kind of do like a Halloween sort of. Branching off, going back to the original, retconning a load of films and kicking off from somewhere else as well, and doing it weirdly and not particularly well.
We'll get to that part of it because that's weird. But I mean, if you don't know who Superman is, he's a superhero. He was developed in the late 30s, and he is. You know, at what's happening in the world of the 1930s? Well, the Nazis are taking over Germany. They're about to go to war in Poland, and they're persecuting Jews. It's a terrible time, and there's the idea of the Übermensch. Well, the American Übermensch or Superman is a good guy. He is the antithesis, in theory, of the Aryan ideal, and he's just a down-home country boy from Kansas who happens to have a lot of superpowers, but his real power, as they explain just out loud as exposition in Superman Returns, but his real power is his humanity, despite being an alien. That's what separates him from, you know, his various rogues gallery members.
I mean, he's got the kind of the powers of Thor with the kind of American patriotism of Captain America. Realistically, I don't know when those two characters were invented. I think Captain America was in the 40s, most likely as a response to the rise of Nazism, which will be why, obviously, the first one, Captain America, the First Avenger, was set in the First World War, because I'm guessing that's when they were developed. I don't know when Thor was created. But realistically, I mean, Marvel and DC, although they're kind of rivals, there's a lot of crossover, and a lot of them are just variations on the same thing. If one's got one, they've got to have an alternate version of it, their own kind of kicking off, and the whole thing with uh, what's Black Adam? Shazam was originally Captain Marvel, then the rights went, so they made their own Marvel, and then Captain Marvel and stuff like that, and various things kicking off. I'm not a comic book person myself, but I think it is to understand Superman, you have to understand him in relation to the policy of the time when the character was created. It is the 1930s. This is the rise of fascism. It's not just the Nazis. You've got kind of Mussolini in Italy as well, and at the time, you also, I think, with fascism, and for people going, in Germany, in Italy, Spain to a certain extent, and these other kind of countries like that, and places that got these regimes, you have to understand that fascism does not carry the baggage it carries today either. So when it's fighting against fascism, you're not going, oh, they're all inherently bad guys. I mean, the Nazis to a certain extent, but fascism as a thing, as a new political movement, was cool. You got to wear these uniforms, you got to be in a group, parades. It's new, exciting, and that kind of thing. But I think when it gets to sort of 37, 38, when I think Superman's around there, the late 30s, now specifically with Nazism on the front, people are looking at it and going, this is dodgy, this is getting bad.
In Golden Age Superman comics, he is literally like beating up Nazis like Captain America.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
that's just that's the thing that's happening.
Yeah.
So
And I find it quite funny, therefore. I have yet to see the new Superman, but all the people go, oh, how woke is this? And it's like, have you read the original comics? He's punching Nazis. Like,
how woke is it? Not at all. it's
It's
very
just
normal, very
Yeah.
bland. In terms of like it's
AKA, if you have an IP which people have known for a while and you have a black person in it, this is now woke.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as I can work out.
Yeah. So I haven't seen any of the old serials. I'm sure they're just like junk.
Running around in tights, like Adam West style sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The 60s in the comics, like it becomes more sci-fi and just a bit more outlandish, and then in my kind of frame of reference for 1978 Superman is Star Wars came out the year before. So, with big studio backing and all that, right? Like, it's not just an independent filmmaker making a movie. Like, Donner's kind of established at this point and obviously goes on more. I'm watching through the lens of like, okay, finally a generation is getting like their really good high-tech superhero film for like the all-American Man of Steel.
And I think it's interesting. There's I think perhaps sort of 4 superhero films really that I'm thinking of, and I mean there are going to be people that go, oh no, actually you have to think of, but in terms of kind of, and when we think, I think of the landscape of film now, going on to a slightly more theoretical kind of general side of it before we go deep dive into the films. When people say Hollywood, what they mean is Marvel and DC. That's what they're on about. And realistically, it is Marvel. I mean, if you want to bash Hollywood, you're bashing Marvel. That's kind of how it works now. But Marvel would not be where it is without a couple of films. Superman is definitely one of them. And I actually think the influence of Superman, kind of the sequels to a lesser extent, but Superman, the proof that you could do this kind of paves the way for Batman. The proof that you can do a darker superhero take in Batman proves that it can be done, and therefore Marvel do Blade. The fact that Marvel makes some money out of doing Blade and all the other Blade movies kind of enables them to kind of get their run up for Spider-Man. When they get the run up for Spider-Man, that sets the landscape for Iron Man. And I think realistically, it all kind of comes back to this film. If this film hadn't have worked, I do not think the landscape of just film in terms of Western blockbusters would be the same. It just wouldn't.
I also think that, when it comes to the tone of movies, we'll talk about Superman Returns, Batman Begins came out the year before that. When you talk about like subverting Superman, I feel like that's just pretty much every other superhero. And so anytime you make like evil Superman or dark Superman, or what if Superman like was a god and didn't care about people and was like, oh my god,
Zack
it's
Snyder.
such a burden to save these Mexican kids, and oh my mom told me I don't need to care about people. Like like that's not that's everything else. Everything else
Yeah.
could be that, and Superman could just be like a Boy Scout, a silly guy in glasses who goes into a phone booth and, well,
Yeah.
I guess by the 70s those were all gone, but runs behind a hot dog stand to take off all his clothes.
Through a revolving door and comes out again, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, before we get into it, because I'd like to talk about the amount of like stuff behind the scenes going into this, because this is one of those ones where kind of it almost collapsed and was doing so around their ears as they were making it. And I've completely lost my train of thought. Oh my god. I'll get back to my train of thought anyway. We should,
Well,
just gone blank.
we could start with Superman 1 and maybe it'll come back to you. Or
Yeah.
Superman the movie is the other title.
Yeah, and this is like the 70s movie to end all 70s movies. You look at the production history, and like I'm going to name drop just about every big name that worked in the 70s that were involved in this in some way. It is insane. So Ilya Salkind was the original producer. He gets the rights to Superman from DC, and then with his dad Alexander Salkind and then Pierre Spengler, they go and start putting it into development. Now, the producers' choices for Superman initially start out like this. They suggest Muhammad Ali, Al Pacino, James Caan, Steve McQueen, Clint Eastwood, Dustin Hoffman. Again, name dropping about
If you
everybody.
want to talk about like woke Superman, it would be Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad
but,
Ali, yeah.
But Muhammad Ali is also the perfect human to cast as Superman. So
Yeah. So you've got other things like one of the interesting things about this that we'll come to later is the fact that in a slightly kind of radical move for films of this size, it's now kind of standard, or standard, or at least not unheard of. But they decided to make Superman 1 and 2 back to back at the same time. So the amount of money they're throwing at it, the amount of time on the set, and they're working at it, and I mean stuff like Daily Planet. Essentially, they're doing scenes for Superman 1 and 2 at the same time. Strangers Part 2 and 3 when they eventually come out, because the first one, I hope they just reshot the entirety of Strangers 2 and 3 because the first one was awful. But they shot all three essentially back to back over a period of like 50 odd days. You know, Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3 were shot back to back. All the Lord of the Rings are shot in one go. You know, the Hobbits are one production. It's now, if not kind of the standard, it is a kind of known quantity. And unless you are kind of doing low budget films kind of like Hammer style, where you use the same sets for two different movies, this kind of isn't done. So the fact they're going all in on this shows that they're like, we're just throwing everything at this, and it is a massive risk to do it. So
I would bet there's also good like tax reasons to do it, and accounting tricks, because I see that the budgets are like $1 million apart. Like
the budget kind of, there isn't a budget. It's however much they have to hand, and the schedule, there isn't a schedule, and this will come on to later. So they go originally to William Goldman to write a script, who had won for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and when he kind of in development / drops out of development, will get adapted screenplay for All the Devil's Men. Apparently, Ilya then hires Alfred Bester, who does The Demolition Man, if nothing else, the novel which gets Hugo Awards and stuff like this, so, and all that stuff. But apparently he wasn't. They were like, no, we're not quite sure. So then they go and hire one of your favorite writing people behind the scenes. Jacob, do you know who this is?
yes, it's Mario Puzo.
Indeed, writer of The Godfather, on a $600,000 salary. hilariously enough, Puzo then churns out like 550 odd pages of screenplay for the two films, which is over like 6 hours long, like Lord of the Rings style. And it was like, we don't need this. Like 100 pages is enough for a script. Like, why do we need 550? It's too weighty. It's too heavy. Can we stop? Other directors approached included Francis Ford Coppola, William Friedkin, Richard Lester, who would go to do 2 and 3, Peter Yates,
Yeah,
John Guillermin.
honestly, it is a shame Coppola didn't just. I know he's doing Apocalypse Now, but like, just take the money, dude. Like,
Yeah. Like, here's the thing. Apparently, Peckinpah was approached, but it was dropped when he got a gun out during a meeting. George Lucas was approached, but dropped out because he was doing Star Wars. So this is
why
like,
would
sort
he take a gun out in a meeting to direct?
of Peckinpah? What?
You
What?
want to see my gun?
This is my gun. You know, no, that's Crocodile Dundee. Isn't it?
That's not
but
a
yeah.
gun.
So Ilya then wants to hide Steven Spielberg, but they were like, just wait until the fish movie comes out and then see what happens. Jaws then opens, becomes very successful, and they go, oh, we now want you to do this. And Spielberg's like, sorry, I'm already doing a movie. That would be Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Guy Hamilton was then hired, who had done.
You look. No offense to Richard Donner, you were naming so many names that I would have liked to see do this movie.
Yeah. Guy Hamilton gets put in there. Dustin Hoffman turns down, who's considered for Superman, and then turned down Lex Luthor. Like the amount of people.
Did they ask Scorsese? Did they try and cast De Niro?
I mean, they tried to cast Pacino, but casting Superman, they had approached Robert Redford, Burt Reynolds, Sylvester Stallone, Paul
Sylvester
Newman was
Stallone
offered.
as Superman would be interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know if it would be good, but what's up, Lois?
Yeah, Patrick Wayne was cast, but then dropped out when John Wayne, his dad, was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Neil Diamond and Arnold Schwarzenegger lobbied for it, but were ignored. James Caan, James Brolin, Christopher Walken, Nick Nolte, John Voight, Perry King were approached.
Kieran, you can't
Charles
just name
Bronson,
every person
Warren
alive in the
Beatty.
70s.
Like this is the thing. Essentially, like somebody suggested Christopher Reeve, and they were like, oh, he's not kind of big enough. And then when they went to all the kind of bigger tough guys, they don't look like Superman. They're not right for the part. So eventually, Superman goes to Christopher Reeve, stuns them. They wanted him to wear a muscle suit. But instead of that, he goes on an exercise regime, hilariously enough, overseen by David Prowse, aka the guy in the Darth Vader suit, who wanted to actually play Superman himself, but was turned down because he wasn't American. So, like, it's literally just like a who's gallery of absolutely everybody coming in.
Well, and then the people who get cast too, like Brando is in it, Marco Kidder is in it.
Yeah, Christopher Reeve gets
Gene
paid
Hackman.
Christopher Reeve gets paid $250,000 to play Superman. Marlon Brando is in it on screen for about 7 minutes at the beginning of the film and does some voiceover work later and gets paid $3.7 million. Back in like 1977 or whenever they're shooting this, 78. Gene Hackman gets paid $2 million, which you know what? For a full, I mean, I know it's ridiculous and over Superman, but Christopher Reeve's pretty much an unknown quantity. Gene Hackman is a certified star. He's got the Oscars behind him. He's in it for the whole movie. He is one of the leads. $2 million if you're going to pay your main actor or one of your main actors $2 million, like I can go with that. You know, it's upper end and over. Christopher Reeve only getting that much, but you know, in terms of the payment scale, you know, you can command the bigger thing. Brando getting 3.7 mil is ridiculous, considering that he refused to learn his line. He wanted his character to be like a green suitcase or a bagel at one point. They had to read it to him off his cue card. He was being Marlon Brando at this point.
Sure.
And let's be honest, in the nicest way, you could have got anyone to play that role. Like,
he's also not in the second movie because of royalty issues. They didn't want to pay him royalties. He sued them for royalties from the first movie that he was owed. Like, he was
it's an absolute just.
so.
It's
That's
Insane.
the crazy part is he plays Superman's dad. Superman's dad, if you've seen Man of Steel, it's the exact same. We're on Krypton at the beginning for like 5 minutes, and it's Jor-El standing there going, you guys are going to the Phantom Zone, Zod and Non and Ursa, or whatever her name is, and
Banished.
Son, yeah,
Ah!
Son, we're sending you to Earth because the planet is blowing up. Anyway, yeah, bye. I'm not in the movie anymore.
I'm going to appear in some voiceovers with my face on it, broadcast, kind of projected onto some glass later on in the film in your Fortress of Solitude. But aside from that, like, I might as well just come into a recording studio, read my lines off a cue card in the background, and gone home again. You know.
And the great thing about Krypton in this movie is, well, I guess they're always aware of Earth, but like they speak English apparently, and they know Chinese because the pod Superman is in. They're like, we are filling this with all Earth knowledge before they launch him.
It's just obviously it's a bit like kind of again sort of Asgard in Thor, where they've got knowledge of different places and they know they're a little bit backwards and they've got the more technology, but it's going to be as close as you can get to Krypton. So it's like we might as well. He'll blend in, he'll fit in, he'll go there.
Well, that's what's crazy to me too, is like Superman, Kal-El does like not need knowledge as a baby when he comes to Earth. He'll just like learn Earth stuff on Earth when he's a kid. So
and the fact is, he doesn't access this. I mean, it's fed. I don't know if it was meant to be that
he never speaks
he learned it via
Chinese.
osmosis, or because he then only goes back to find his kind of all the information that's been given to him when he's like 18 or whatever, and he gets the kind of spidey senses or whatever it is. So, come here, we will teach you everything about planet Earth. It's like, I've been here for 15 years. I already know everything about planet Earth. I know I'm weird and I should hide, but aside from that, like,
I need to know about Krypton. I don't need to know about Earth.
I was gonna say, yeah.
But what they do is they do the thing that we hate now, because we've all seen every superhero movie. We don't need to know Superman's origin story anymore. We know he crash lands on Earth. Sorry, my dog is annoying. Crash lands on Earth as a child, and then grows up on a farm in Kansas, and then becomes Superman. So the new movie, we're in media res. We're just going straight into Superman stuff. But
is this the James Gunn one? Yeah.
Yeah. In this movie, though, I mean, it's not the first, but like as far as big screen superhero movies go, this is a landmark. This is kind of setting the tone. And we do get a pretty extensive origin story, which, I mean, it's well done, but because of where I'm at in life, my sensibilities, my knowledge, I was like, this movie could start about halfway through.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with this it's kind of 3 acts. It's kind of getting to Earth and growing up. It's then dealing with the Daily Planet. It's then stopping Lex Luthor from doing Lex Luthor stuff because we need to have a bad guy, because Lex Luthor doesn't really have a plan until about half an hour before the end.
That's what makes it weird too. Is Lex Luthor is not a constant presence. He just kind of shows up at one point in his lair to explain his plan out loud to us.
Yeah, it's interesting. Therefore, it's kind of like the life and times of Superman, rather than Superman versus Lex Luthor. And maybe this is because it's more focused on it's a family adventure film rather than kind of the serious drama of it. So you're following somebody as he goes up, and when he gets to a certain point, he will have to he'll overcome his adversaries, and then you'll have your big boss right at the end. Lex Luthor is the big boss rather than the consistent presence all the way through. So that's an interesting kind of change that they've got there to the structure. But then again, you go, if you've got Gene Hackman in it for $2 million, make it worth it. I don't know. Maybe at the beginning he was like originally doing something to the Daily Planet, or something like that. Gene Hackman's lobbying for some kind of political role when he's growing up, something along those lines. That's what you'd do now. You'd seed him in all the way through. And then have a big reveal at the end. This one, you kind of don't need it because they're focusing on Superman rather than kind of everything else going around it. And the fun is watching him grow up, watching him go into the Daily Planet, watching him become Superman rather than Superman in 30 minutes. Right now, let's have an hour and a half of blowing buildings up.
And that makes sense too in the context of like, we're making one super 2-part movie out of this.
Yeah.
Where, it's not a huge amount of time spent in Kansas I mean, it is, but on that scale, it's different. But
Yeah.
just in the single film, like, there's a lot of time spent with young Clark where he's like running really fast by trains, and he's he's like the equipment manager for the football team, and he wants to play but he can't because of his powers, or I don't know.
There's an interesting I found today. Warner Brothers have uploaded two kind of half-hour documentaries that they originally included on like a 2001 DVD box set sort of thing. So if you go onto YouTube, you will find the Superman the movie, the making of Superman with Richard Donner, which is comprised of two, again, so like 25-30 minute documentaries. One's nearly half an hour, the other sort of 25 minutes. One is taking flight, the development of Superman. The other is Magic Behind the Cape. Magic Behind the Cape is very interesting because it is one of the special effects guys about 20 years later going, this is how we did this, and this without the digital technology. So the bit where he punts right at the beginning to kind of show off, he punts an American football and it kind of flies over the stadium, kind of out of shot, kind of thing. How they did that is they showed him kicking a football and cut to a shot just after where they just essentially put an air cannon in the ground and launch a football like that. Just actually practical. Let's just punt a football. And then when Kid Kal-El is running, Kal-El, Clark Kent, whatever you want to call him. Essentially, they tried loads of ways of doing that, like back projection. They tried kind of just running very fast, all the things they could do. Eventually, they got a crane and they put him on wires. So his feet wasn't actually touching the ground, but they could control him doing the running. Apparently, at one point, I think he might have got a slight injury from that as well. So there's just interesting stuff. The thing with this film is that it is good because it's one of the kind of first very, very VFX heavy. I say one of the first. It's very VFX heavy, and just for interesting random bits of this kind. I mean, 2001 is FX heavy as well, but in a different way. They're kind of using everything. They're using miniatures, they're using back projection, they're using wires, they're using green screens, they're using pretty much every tool in the arsenal to get this going. And it's in, again, even just the small things, that they have to work out. How do we get this kid to run twice the speed, And they're trying all this stuff, and it's just like, yeah, that doesn't work, that doesn't work, that doesn't work, that doesn't work. Well, that's $100 grand down the drain because that's not going to work out how we want it to,
Right. I do also like that the Kents meet young Kal-El, because he's not Clark yet. He's a toddler wearing a diaper, and he lifts up their car. And so they're like, oh, great, yeah, we're going to take this child who can lift cars with us. That'll be fine.
Oh, and a lot of people have drawn parallels with kind of the biblical imagery that he literally descends on a star.
Calm down, Zack Snyder.
To people that can't have children, and and one of them is like, we can have children, but the Lord has delivered one to us, and they're like, oh, therefore his mom's like the Virgin Mary, given a son from the stars, and all this kind of thing goes on to save people. These very Christ-like figures.
So, what one great thing about this movie is, I mean, if you're gonna have Pa Kent die, have him die of something Superman can't stop. He can't stop a heart attack. He could stop someone from getting killed by a tornado, but he cannot stop a heart attack. So
I was going to say, he'll eventually work out how to reverse time. We'll get on to it.
Yeah. Why doesn't he reverse time to when his dad died and then he's alive again?
There's paradoxes from here going on. But yeah, then we get to him growing up, and he goes to the planet and
but before that too, when his dad dies, and I'm saying that with a smile, that's a bummer. But he finds this little like crystal, and he takes it to Antarctica and he throws it, and it grows into the Fortress of Solitude. And I don't understand it at all, but okay, it's cool.
We just have to accept that this is some alien thing that you're meant to understand, just visually. Sorry, don't try and understand it. Feel it.
Because it's a green glowing crystal too. Like, is it not kryptonite? Like that? It's very confusing.
I think Yeah, because I've often wondered what is the whole thing? Like, it's part of his home planet, but it's the only thing that kills him. Like, how does that work? Like, when they're on Krypton, is she going to kill you constantly? I think it's because of the radioactivity mixed with
My
the kryptonite. With
my thought is, I know his powers come from the yellow sun, and so the red sun it's like different for Kryptonians, but because of it being like shards of the planet Krypton, like does just being on Krypton depower everybody on Krypton? Maybe I don't
I
know.
don't know. It's just like it's like taking a piece of like the moon and like putting it in the front in the sun next to a werewolf. It's like this is now kind of part of the moon in the sun. This is now moonlight. Do you change? Like, what the hell's going on there?
How does
I
Superman
don't
not
understand.
destroy toilets whenever he goes to the bath? I don't know. I don't know. I don't.
There are images there that I don't want to consider. We
That
should move on.
there's so many logistical questions that okay, so here's a fun dumb Superman thing is the reason he can like touch things with one finger and hold it up
Yeah.
is that he has like this aura field something. So whenever he grabs someone in the air he doesn't destroy them flying through them or something. Like
Sorry, I was getting bored there of the ridiculous stupidity of that. Just have him be super strong. What is wrong
it
with
it
that?
just works.
Like,
It just works.
he just can lift things with one finger. He's an alien from another planet, like that looks like a human being. We can go with that, but now we have to invent sci-fi reasons for him lifting. Just have him be able to lift things because he's Superman.
Yeah.
End of. I
Well,
don't care about every other midichlorian explanation for everything of
yeah.
wars and sort
The
of.
comics and like people online have gotten very deep into the midichlorians of Superman, and how things work. But I don't care. He is magic. That's how it works.
I was
He is
gonna
an alien.
say he's Superman. Like, what more do you want? Um, but and then we get to the thing, and there's a clip that's been going around recently of Christopher Reeve when he goes over to Lois's apartment, and he kind of he's got the glasses off and he's all kind of bumbling, and then he goes away and he kind of takes off the glasses and straightens up again and kind of becomes Superman, and you know that's from this part, and it beautifully works. And you watch it and you go, yeah. And then you watch it in context of the film and you go, no, that is kind of it's the subtle moments that bring it out. And they were saying on the first documentary, Taking Flight, that they tried all these things. Eventually, they did quite a lot of wire work with Christopher Reeve, and it's the first shot you see of him coming out of the Fortress of Solitude with the cape and everything, and he kind of comes towards the screen and flies out. And kind of on his own, Christopher Reeve decided going into the turn, not just to go around like that, but to actually bank into the turn like that. And they were going, it's just such a small thing that properly kind of gives it that feel of actual flight rather than just somebody superimposed. And it was like one of the first ones they'd done, and they got it all set up and they got it on wires. Uh, and they get that first take and they see it on the screens, and apparently there's dead silence for a couple of seconds, and then like 100 people just start applauding because again, you have to remember they're making this in 1977. The technology to make it not look completely awful is relatively new. This is stuff that people have been doing like in the back of some disaster movies or 50s sci-fi movies, and even then you can kind of
So
tell it's a
wh-
green screen.
where George Lucas like put together shoot, what are they called?
Industrial Light and
Yeah,
Magic.
ILM. He went to Caltech and like he was familiar with like the underground avant-garde film scene. He was like, "Oh, you want to come do effects for me?" And so like that's where all kinds of like really just awesome effects came out of, was him knowing people in California in the industry
Yeah,
that who were just on the cutting edge of like doing the ray tracing and all
yeah,
the really cool like practical special effects that
yeah.
that nowadays would just be CGI, and it as opposed to like in camera stuff and uh
It's again, it's just some of the stuff. I mean, It's hilarious as you watch through the sequels, the effects get worse over time, and I know a lot of this is because they're reducing money, but there's also several years between them, and you kind of like, how has it got worse? How have you ended up in like Superman 4 with like the worst flying effects ever, and then 4 years later, Jurassic Park comes out, and just like, oh, those dinosaurs still are like just peak cutting edge of everything. Like the ones now don't look as good. But yeah,
When we
so.
Oh, sorry. When we're at the Daily Planet stuff, um, like you were talking about the bit where, he does like the subtle Clark Kent acting, and I do love Christopher Reeve's Clark Kent.
So good.
Yeah, being all like he's clumsy and he's oblivious and he's helpless. We'll get onto it in 2. There's like a really good Clark Kent bit, but yeah, he's really good as it.
It's like Christopher Reeves is sorry, Reeve, it's singular. He is Clark Kent. He is Superman. Like your Henry Cavill's and your Brandon Rose and everything like that. And again, I haven't seen the new one. Can do what they want, but Christopher Reeve just to use a phrase, he understood the assignment. And there's a reason why he kept coming back. And again, he was not an actor, but there's a reason why we've now got an Oscar-winning documentary based on him. He brings it. He walks in and he's bumbling and he's nice and shy and everything like that, and he holds the values that have been instilled into him. And then he becomes Superman, and it is a complete switch. And the tagline on all the posters for this was "You'll believe a man could fly," and the whole thing was we have to make it believe a man can fly. In fact, Richard Donner. His one word on set was verisimilitude, and apparently everyone remembered that because they all had to look up what it meant. And I think it's Donner or one of the kind of exact seconds or whatever it is still has a big thing of Superman holding a banner which has verisimilitude on it above his office. The idea is to ground it as much as possible, make it as believable as possible. And even though it's campy and all that kind of very much having fun, I mean, Gene Hackman is pure comic book villain. Like he's not this. We'll come on to it when you get to Luthor in Superman Returns, who is pure kind of conniving, evil supervillain. No, Gene Hackman is just, I'm going to make everything and get a load of money, and I'm going to call it Hackmanville. Yes,
Yeah.
we're going to have Hackmanville. They're going to pay lots of money. I'm already the richest person in the world. I want more money. Ha ha ha
Well,
ha.
br-
It's like, what?
bringing up the kind of realistic aspects of that, like that is what Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman were going for. Like, what would happen if they lived in the real world? And it's interesting how there can be so many takes on that. And
Yeah.
it's not just, well, the real world is dark and gritty and
Yeah.
people would revere and fear Superman. Like, I don't know, or he's just a really good guy and people are like, yay, Superman.
Yeah, I
Thanks
mean,
for
it's
saving
like,
that cat out of a tree.
yeah, and I mean, I think again, without having seen the new one, a lot of people are saying it might also be you in your review. I don't want to give the spoilers away; people will have to go read it. But this kind of
I like James Gunn's Superman. I'll spoil
yeah,
that. It's
yeah,
awesome.
it seems to be a case of essentially we don't need the darkness and everything to make it realistic. Sometimes you just need somebody that is good to inspire a bit of hope in people. And this was, although it's kind of the verisimilitude thing wasn't necessarily to make it real. It was kind of to make it feel kind of believable, if that makes sense, and to kind of ground it in a reality that might be kind of a different reality, but a reality that kind of makes sense. And you know what? It absolutely does. And Christopher Reeve pulls this off. And even though Gene Hackman's plan is essentially the same plan as Christopher Walken will have in A View to a Kill, the James Bond movie, which is essentially do something with the San Andreas fault, which floods a load of it so that he can get rich. It's the
Yes.
same plot. I don't care.
Well, and that's another,
it feels right.
the sort of cynicism that is kind of in the movie, towards like people in power because of Watergate and all that. Like that does exist. It's not like a great world, but Superman is the beacon of hope in it.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, yeah, his plan in this movie is so funny. Lex Luthor's
Also,
plan
can I
is
just ask, what is the thing with superheroes and kind of like reporters and reporting?
You
Like,
know,
because obviously, like, we've got here's Superman working at Daily Planet. You know, in Batman, you've got is it the Gotham News or whatever that they all work for. Spider-Man has obviously got the working. What
Spider-Man's a
is it?
freelancer.
What is it? Just like newspapers, just a convenient way to give them a job, but then also have them be able to
I
go
get,
out and do whatever they need to at various
yeah,
points.
it's a way for them to capitalize off themselves, and then it's also a way to like, I don't know. I guess give us the viewer like it's a trick to say, well, here's what the world thinks because he works in the newspaper. He works in, you know,
Yeah, you can build
Spider-Man's
the
a
headlines into
photographer.
part of the plot. Yeah, it just seems to me a weird thing. It's a bit like in kind of high school series or anime where it's like the characters are at high school but never actually doing any high school work. You know what I mean? It's like it's just a plot device. It seems to me the newspapers and media
I,
stuff for all these superheroes. It's just a plot device. It's just like, look, they are working, but it also means that they can go, oh, I need to be over here for this plot device. Oh, you just happen to be covering something over there. Go for it. We can now ship you wherever the plot needs. Essentially, it's great like that.
well, it's big for Lois Lane too because the thing with Lois Lane is she is the hard-nosed like awesome reporter. She's the competent one. You know, Clark works at the Daily Planet, but she is the like the ace
The star reporter, yeah.
She's actually like, you know, the best in the world or whatever. Like
Yeah.
she's talking about winning Pulitzers or Pulitzers as some people pronounce it. I don't like that. But yeah, that Margot Kidder's really good as Lois Lane
She
too,
is.
where she has to, you know, interact with Clark and make it seem like, yeah, I guess I'm kind of into this guy. But she is always
not really,
very
you know.
into Superman.
Oh yeah, this is a full-on like obsession, you know, and that's kind of obviously the funny drama of it, which is why I think it is interesting because I think one of the reasons why they don't have Gene Hackman in it for too long is that you do have a thing where if you had even in like what 2 hours 14, 15, however this long is without credits, if you have the beginning, the sort of the come from Krypton, you have the kind of the childhood beginnings, you have going to the day flight, you have Gene Hackman, you have all the finding out about everything. If you have that all in one go all the way through, you can have the ability to feel a little sort of cramped and claustrophobic and everything's kind of falling over itself. As much as it's kind of not popular to say, I think one film, at least film, that does this very well. Other source material may vary, but in terms of filmic, one that does it quite well actually is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which kind of because it's this a similar sort of thing. You know, you have your beginning, you have your integration into this world, you have to learn about the world. Then there is a plot that kind of comes in near the end, but that is seeded right the way through, and that has kind of learned on the mistakes of kind of other films and like this, which has got to kind of split it up to allow you the time to kind of to fly with Lois Lane and Superman and have the genuinely beautiful flying sequence where they're kind of holding each other up by the fingertips. And I've had other people tell me it's a ridiculous scene, it's stupid. How the hell are we doing this? It's like it's Superman. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, it's holding up by the fingertip because he can, and he's Superman. Like, you don't need anything else. Like, this is what's going on, and the effects work on some of that. The effects work on the helicopter kind of crash scene is glorious and beautiful. And yes, we're going to look at some of the effects of them flying now and go, that's obviously like a backdrop, you know, projected onto it. But this is 1977, late 7, early 78 that they're making it. Give them some allowances. There are some shots in this film which look as near as you're going to get. You know, it's amazing by those standards, decent to bad by our standards, but you know
I
we're
mean,
nearly
it
50 years in the future.
just because I could tell that it's an effect doesn't make it
Yeah.
less impressive to
I was,
me.
I was going to say we still watch Ray Harryhausen
Yeah,
films.
it looks. This is top of the line for the era it's in. Like
Yeah.
it was nominated. Was it nominated or did it win for special
It
effects?
probably won.
It was one of
Yeah.
those two. It was at least nominated.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the amount of things that it takes on, like big, action set pieces. It's really impressive, and
Yeah.
especially in that final third where you mentioned it, but Lex Luthor's plan is there's these two nukes, and he's gonna recalculate their whatever trajectory to slam into the San Andreas Fault, break off part of California, and suddenly his terrible desert land is worth money.
Yeah, that's it. It's a money-making scheme, essentially. He is in this film. He's not a conniving kind of evil megalomaniac. He is an old school Bond villain. Which, considering Guy Hamilton was originally brought on to direct, kind of makes sense.
Well, and thinking about it, is there a chance old school Bond villains are just somebody who liked reading comics and was like, we're gonna do that?
I mean,
well, I guess Ian Fleming.
Obviously, got his a lot of ideas from doing stuff during the war, and Superman came around during the war, so all that stuff around there is going to be taken off, isn't it? Essentially, what we're saying is that all these kind of evil megalomaniacs are essentially derived from people ripping into Hitler.
Well, the crazy part of the third act for me is that Superman does stop one of the missiles, throws it into space, but he doesn't stop the other one, and so this huge like the San Andreas Fault is really big. There's a large chunk of California that is coming off, and Superman puts it back together.
Yes.
It's so awesome.
He puts it back together, but he is not in time to save Lois Lane from falling into a crack on the earth. And then we
and
have
getting
to
buried in dirt and dying.
Yes. And then we have to get to the question. Because up until now, I've really actually quite enjoyed this film. Again, I'm not a superior person. I'll watch him when I have to. I can take him or leave him. But I am enjoying this very kind of family enthusiastic with one of the greatest scores of all time, obviously by John Williams.
Let's talk about that for a second, because John Williams is so good. The Superman theme is still being used by Gunn. Yeah.
It is the Superman theme rather than John Williams' theme for this particular version of Superman,
Yeah.
It's not like Christopher Nolan went and took Danny Elfman's Batman and continued to use it. The 2022 or 3 or whatever it was, Batman is not using Danny Elfman's music. We're still using John Williams' main theme. As I think you should.
Yeah.
I mean, I complained that 28 years later didn't use the main theme from 28 Days Later, the one that's now kind of known, even though it wasn't the main theme then. Superman is just like, we're not going to top it. Like Superman comes in, we have to use that. A bit like Spider-Man will somewhere drop in the Spider-Man bit, somewhere in there,
Yeah, it's perfect. It's got the sort of triumphant feel to it. The whole score in these old Superman movies is really good. But anyway, Superman can't save Lois. Carry on.
Yeah, so obviously they have to do a thing, and the thing that they have to do is a problem which a lot of writers will have when you essentially have your big, massive threat and then you actually deliver on it. And it goes, oh my gosh, it's so terrible. Like, the world is actually destroyed. The bad guys won. But you can't have the bad guys win. So you have to find some kind of way to undo it.
I guess the bad guy doesn't win because he saves the fault, but it's literally just Lois Lane dies.
He wins from a moral standpoint. It's a kind of moral victory, and this is something that I have issues. As much as I like Russell T Davies writing Doctor Who, a lot of his finales are something happens and then what do we do? And reverse. It's kind of, if in doubt, that's what's going to happen. Very often the case with his finales, because what happens is the big bad has won at the climax of just before the last episode, so that in the last episode you're going to have to undo it somehow, and in the nicest way, unless you're ridiculously clever and you've seasoned it in all the way through very specifically, you've got issues. And you have to do... And I mean, Avengers in the nicest way had the same issue.
I would object to like I don't have an issue with the Avengers one so much, but like what's in this movie is just lazy. Like
Yeah.
it's so it doesn't ruin the movie, but like
it's very close.
If it's gonna happen, this is something that should happen in like movie 4, not movie 1.
Because he never seems to do it again. You know, what does he do? He decides that he has the ability to fly around the Earth so fast that he reverses time.
Okay, so
purely for the Earth, not for the rest of the universe.
Yeah.
So now that the Earth is out of sync with the rest of the universe, apparently.
Well, this is where we need to slightly debate. It is the image that we are shown as Earth turning and lines flying around that represent Superman flying, and the Earth starts spinning the other way. Is that literal, or is that just an image to say Superman is traveling through time?
I don't know if he's traveling through time or reversing everything. Either way, what you have is a major issue, because you get back, there should be another Superman there.
There should be another Superman. There should be
paradoxes galore. Like
the Earth should be destroyed if it's spinning backwards. Like that would end the Earth.
I just like the idea of ignoring kind of laws of physics aside, somebody watching from like therefore billions of years in the future, and therefore looking back in time to the Earth, because that's technically what's happening, and kind of looking at it, seeing through obviously alien telescope, seeing the San Andreas fault kind of crack and go, oh, there it goes, and then kind of blinking and it's back there again, and then kind of rubbing their eyes. Did I just see that? Was I hallucinating? Hang on, come here. Something just happened. That part of the ocean definitely fell into the sea, but now it's alive again. What's going on? You know, and it's like reset. Like
Mark Lars, the Earth's spinning backwards.
Like, did it reset? Did it never happen? Like, this is just never addressed. It's just got to think. Oh, went back in time and saved Lois Lane. Like,
so I don't think he physically changes the Earth. I think he flies so fast that he goes back, like speed of light or something, goes back in time and is able to do it. I don't think that he is reversing, like, because it would just be the Earth. It doesn't make any sense.
Even if you go back in time, you therefore save Lois Lane's life. Therefore, you still have a 5-minute branching off parallel timeline. Or theoretically, an entire timeline that goes forward.
Yes, which Jor-El says, don't do that at the beginning of the movie. That's like one of his few things that he says is, don't change time.
Whatever you do, don't do that. So what does he do? He does that. What are the consequences? Sodom! It's absolutely
there aren't any.
And this is a great thing that superhero's done to save the love of his life that only likes him for his alter ego and not actually who he is.
Yeah, only his alter ego.
Yes. It'll take until the second film in order to do that, and then at the end of the second film, he goes and wipes a memory so that we can have.
Oh my god! Returns. What is it with the end of these movies that Mario Puzo is like, oh, and then he kisses her and she forgets everything.
Anyone who knows Doctor Who fans will obviously know. Again, we've done a reversey thing for this end of season 4 of Doctor Who. It's the same plot.
Why didn't he just spin the Earth backwards is now the eternal question. And then the other question is, why doesn't he just kiss everybody and make everybody forget anything that I don't know. That's a Robot Chicken sketch.
Yeah, why didn't he just fly the Earth backwards is now going to be in line with why didn't they just fly on the Eagles to Mordor? It's exactly the same thing. And it's a superpower that you've essentially gone to get yourself out of a plot hole. But now means every subsequent sequel, you've got that power in reserve and don't use it. And every time you don't use it, everyone's going to look at you going, you're a moron.
Well, a plot hole, and also, like, yeah, you love Lois Lane, but, like, it's one person. Like, I don't know. It's really dumb. Just don't have Lois Lane die. Have him save her as she's falling into a pit, and like that's it. It's over.
It's not as tragic for about the 3 seconds that happens, but if you're going to have him fly backwards in time, you have to give some kind of consequences to it. Like, I don't know, he loses some of his powers. Maybe that's what's meant to happen. He lost his power to fly at that speed. I don't know. This is never brought up. You have to have, or I don't know, his arm gets withered away and dies, or something like that. And he
The
goes around with
substance.
one arm, robot arm, something like that. Have to have like Bucky Barnes arm. So I don't know. You've got to do something because as it is, what happens is he's told you must never fly faster than the speed of light or whatever it is, or bad
Yeah,
consequences will
is
happen.
is it a speed thing? Is it a strength thing? I don't know. I don't
Yes,
know
what
which
it has
power it is.
You must never do this. The love of his life dies for 3 seconds, who doesn't actually love him. He then breaks all the known rules of physics and the messages from his father. Brings him back to life, so we don't really have the sadness from that. And there are no consequences for doing so, and we therefore wonder for every other time what you don't do this. It's bordering on absurd as an ending, and it also just therefore hovers over pretty much everything else.
Right.
Every other Superman movie you watch, including Returns, because it's the same timeline,
Yep.
you'll just be asking, why don't you fly around the Earth and go back in time?
Why don't you go back to your childhood and tell yourself? I don't know. It's all dumb. Superman. Like the Flash can run back in time, like we see that in Justice League or Batman vs Superman or whatever, and like Superman is as fast or sometimes faster, I think, than the Flash. I don't know, like they can race and it's close. So like I don't know. It's weird how sometimes Superman struggles to hold up a building, but he could theoretically spin the Earth around whatever direction he wants.
There are parts of this movie that are amazing. There's quite a few bits that are not. Anyway, they shove Gene Hackman, who has just threatened to destroy millions and millions of lives. They just shove him in prison with everyone else.
Drops him in a prison.
Yeah,
and
drops him off and makes him do hard labor. Like, that's it. Minimum security. That's not it. Why not?
Gives us the best scene in like a movie I've watched recently where he pulls off his wig for no reason. You were bald the whole time. What?
Shock horror.
It's so funny. I don't understand it.
No. Anyway, behind the scenes, all the while this is going on, the producers are continuously attacking Richard Donner. Richard Donner is working overtime, like 17, 18 odd hour days minimum. You know, this is going on for a year. The producer are attacking him because they keep telling him he's over schedule and over budget, but they haven't actually given him a budget or a schedule. At one point he goes, why don't you just say that it's for 2 days time, then I can be 9 months over schedule, or we can just get something in. Eventually they Yeah, like they bring on Richard Lester, who would eventually do Superman 2 and 3, to be a go-between between Donner and
Richard Lester,
producers.
the guy who did the Beatles movies.
Yeah, like, and they're having him in because essentially everyone's about ready to punch people and kill them, like, and everything like that. All the crew really love working with Richard Donner. You know, and all this is going on behind the scenes. There's financial issues. Blah, blah, blah. It's madness. Superman comes out, does the amazing stuff that it does, and gets all the box office success. Bearing in mind they'd shot 75 odd percent of film 2, and eventually had gone, please stop that. We need to finish the first one rather than shooting both of them back to back all the way through. Superman is a massive success, like, you know, one of the biggest movies of the year, probably of all time. But at that point, makes loads and loads of money.
I mean, Star Wars had come out the year before, but
yeah, it's probably not quite as big as Star Wars, but it's up there. You know, it's very good for 1978. And what do the producers decide to do? You know what? Let's not have Richard Donner on for Superman 2, even though he's shot 75% of the film. It's like, what?
Let's fire him.
Yeah, and apparently there are people on it that are like, yeah, I reckon that if the film had done awfully, they'd have kept on the director. Like,
So the great thing about that is Gene Hackman refused to do reshoots, and so everything in Superman 2 was shot by Donner, and you can know 100% that is him and not Lester.
Yeah, it's just like Les has essentially come in to pick up scraps and essentially do reshoots for number two. And, poor guy. Like, he's been trying to help the first one work and then gets tasked with, can you just jump on the rest of it? And
So
it's like, this wasn't the plan.
did you watch the Lester or Donner version?
I think I watched the Lester version. I
Okay.
don't think I watched the Donner cut.
So the before this, I had only watched the Donner cut out of these movies. I hadn't seen the first one.
Yeah.
So it is a different movie. It's like I still like it, honestly.
Yeah.
It's got a bit more like this is the one where he takes off his S and throws it
Okay.
at the bad guys. So there's this fight in the Fortress of Solitude after they fight in Metropolis that is
Yeah.
not in the Donner cut.
Yeah.
And it's like it's unnecessary and silly, but I still like it.
Yeah, so the bit where he kind of gets Gene Hackman to bluff his plan, which isn't a plan, so that General Zod and that become mortal after he knows he can become mortal himself, and then changes back and then does all that. Is that not in the Donner cut of Superman 2?
So it's the same plot. Like that part does happen. He tricks them to go to the Fortress of Solitude and tricks them into the thing to zap them. But I'm pretty sure that opening part in Paris is not in the Donner cut.
Yeah, that bit's weird. Essentially, he throws a nuke into the sun,
Yes.
which gets to the sun in about 3 seconds flat.
So
because
it's
laws of speed.
it's
you know,
not
time.
in that because in the first movie
stupid.
he throws a nuke into space and that nuke is what blows up the I don't know why the Phantom Zone is a triangle flying through space that can be nuked, but it is, and that is how
Because it's the
Kryptonian-
1970s.
Yeah, that's how they're released in Superman 2.
General Zod, yeah.
But honestly, I like the Paris whole thing. Like, so the movie, you're talking about the being a newspaper reporter is just a plot device. The whole reason Clark knows that there's terrorists with a hydrogen bomb in Paris is Perry White is putting together newspaper headlines about Paris destroyed, Paris saved. Yeah, Lois is already there. Don't worry, Clark. She's on the case. And so Superman has to fly there and probably save Europe because it's a hydrogen bomb.
Yeah, this is going to destroy quite a lot.
It's not just Paris.
Why are these terrorists doing it? I can't remember.
I don't know. I really don't know why.
We just need an opening kind of action sequence to do stuff. But yeah, Superman. So just to finish off on this one.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's finish off with this one. Massively critically acclaimed. By the way, also before John Williamson brought on to do this, Jerry Goldsmith was in contention to do the score because obviously he'd just done The Omen with Richard Donner, so they got him on, and then he dropped out to do other stuff. But apparently, the Superman creators Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, in tears, thanked Richard Donner. It was like, this is exactly what I imagined it. Gene Siskel gives it 3 out of 4 stars. Robert Ebert gives it 4 stars. So if Siskel and Ebert like it,
Siskel's
yeah, and it's kind of, I think the general consensus is that it's got its flaws, but it's wonderfully entertaining family movie. It's got a little bit of campiness, a little bit of seriousness. The tone is just about right for a proper 70s kind of feel good adventure film. And that's what it was always designed to be. That's what it should be. At the Oscars, it gets nommed for film editing, original score, sound, and visual effects, wins special effects. Loads of Saturn Awards. The only Golden Globe it gets nominated for is original score. At the BAFTAs, gets nommed for supporting role, cinematography, production design, sound, most promising newcomer to leading film roles, which is now a discontinued one, obviously, and outstanding British contribution to cinema award, because a lot of it was filmed in kind of Pinewood and things like that on the
Nice.
007 stage and stuff like that.
Oh, that's fun.
So yeah, and again, off this we get all the Superman kind of installments. I don't think after this you would have had Batman without this. This is the one that proves it is possible. There had been superhero stuff before this. There will be superhero after this. If you want to know at what point did we get a big blockbuster superhero movie that worked, that brought in the money and brought in the critical acclaim and everything like that, and it got big actors in it, it's this one.
Yeah.
And
that
again,
didn't have cheesy Star Trek TV effects.
Yeah. And again, I do not think the film landscape would be the way it is if this film did not exist.
Yeah, that's very true. And then I like two more, like for the flaws of the Lester cut and cutting Donner. Like I like the story a lot, because the plot of this one is, well, yeah, Superman is Superman, but like he just wants to be a normal guy, you know?
Yeah. You're just some guy, you know. And I think the second one is interesting because it doesn't have to spend half an hour setting everything up. You know, you throw a bomb into the sun and it brings back General Zod, and that's like 10-15 minutes into the movie. We can get going. We know the rough state of things. We kind of fill them up, kind of fill people in a year after of where Kent and Lois Lane are. But aside from that, we don't need it. And you do have the very kind of funny sort of Lois Lane is pretty much sure that Clark Kent is Superman. He's trying very much not to, and trying all these. She throws herself into a river at one point because it's like, oh, if you're Superman, you'll save me. And he manages to use X-ray powers, beams to cut off a branch in order to save her and stuff like that.
She doesn't just throw herself into a river; it's Niagara Falls. Like,
yeah,
he just saved someone that went over, flew down, and she was like, Clark Kent must be Superman because he wasn't here. And then,
you never see Clark Kent and Superman in the room at the same time.
No, you don't. But she, throws herself in, and it's so fun just watching Clark be like, "Oh, Lois, oh, geez, oh no,
oh God, what do I do? Oh God,
how do I get out of this one? Oh, by dumb luck."
Yeah, you'd never see Zack Snyder shooting that scene, would you? Just wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Oh, what would happen if Zack Snyder had to put this scene together?
Lois Lane would have died.
Probably, yeah. Or Superman would have just like been brooding, somewhere, and then she's like, "Oh, Clark, I'm jumping in," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna climb in a bathtub."
Yeah, because all superhero movies get progressively like less and less light on it now. But James Gunn's like, no, we will have one that actually looks decent. So yeah, two is interesting. I think the main thing for Superman Returns about this is not the General Zod and everything like that, but the fact that he kind of gives Lois Lane amnesia at the end.
Yeah.
With a kiss or whatever it is, so that she now does not know who he is.
I really love Zod in this movie a lot. So they're like, ooh, we're on planet Houston, because first they like attack astronauts on the moon or whatever, and they land in water, then they're fighting cops, and then finally they're in the president's office, and he's like, all right, fine, y'all could take over the world.
I ain't got anything for this. Like, what do you expect me to do?
The United States is in charge of letting them be in charge of the world in this movie.
Obviously.
But then Lex Luthor walks in and is like, you need me. And it's great.
Wheeling and dealing, trying to save himself and get some money out of it at the same time.
Yes. And meanwhile, Superman is stripping himself of his powers and his power stripper machine.
I want to become a mortal man.
Yes. And for some reason, he works for a newspaper, and he does not realize that there are Kryptonians taking over. I mean, at least the U.S., which is, it's a little bizarre. I think he looks at a TV and sees Zod, and like, I'm pretty sure that's how he figures out that there is a bad plot happening.
Yeah. Oh, I need to go do Superman stuff that isn't kind of rescuing cats from being stuck up trees.
Yeah. And, oh my gosh. Oh, and also, in the first movie, too, Superman gets, he's kryptonited by Lex Luthor, and he's saved by Lex's girlfriend. And in this movie, she then rescues Lex from being in jail. That's how he gets out.
Do you not understand? so weird. Yeah. So we have this. I don't think we were going to majorly focus on this one, but you need to know it because then we have the ever growing disasters of three Supergirl and Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
Yeah, three. I didn't watch Supergirl. I don't know anything about Supergirl, but three.
Supergirl is essentially Supergirl comes to Earth, but then ends up in high school slash college doing stuff. The effects are not good. I can't even remember what the bad guy is, the plot. I just remember they're in like high school and she's trying to pretend that she's not a superhero with her dorm mates and stuff
Sure.
like that. So weirdly, badly, stupidly pointless. Like it's just not good at all. And Quest for Peace is just the less said about Quest for Peace, the better.
Three has Richard Pryor playing a
I forgot
a
Richard Pryor
bad
was in that. I
guy.
only watched this like 2 days ago. Yeah, Richard
He's a
Pryor's
bad
in-
guy, but he's not a supervillain. He's just a guy working for a rich guy.
Yeah, he's a computer geek. A rich guy goes, "Oh, can you do this? Because then we can do
you
bad guy stuff."
destroy Columbia so that I can corner the market on their coffee profits or whatever?
Stuff like that, using algorithms, and then Richard Pryor eventually goes, "This is a bad thing to do." Superman, I'm actually going to help you, and they save everything.
And the
And
bad
then-
guy in it is basically just like I don't know why he's not Lex Luthor. It's really dumb. I don't know who he is. He has no superpowers. He is just a bad rich guy, and I don't know. It's a very tedious movie to watch, but it does have good and evil Superman split from Clark's like consciousness, and bad Superman blows out the
I
Olympic
forgot
torch.
that was a thing. I watched this 2 days ago, maybe 3.
He blows out the Olympic torch and like puts a girl's cat in a tree, and
Is it like a split consciousness? Because it took me until he fights himself to realize that was what was happening. I thought he'd just gone like Spider-Man 3 on it, and then at the end it's like, why are they having to put? Why the two of them? What the hell happened here? Where did the other one go? I thought he just decided to be mean for whatever reason. Like he got some kind of like mean virus or something like that. Like what the hell's going on? It's so dumb. I don't know why Richard Pryor is in it.
and he straightens the Leaning Tower of Pisa. That's the other thing he does.
Yeah, that's one of the mean things he does. It's like petty, cartoony mean. And then,
Which
like,
is
so
really
the guy
funny,
making all
honestly.
it's probably the best thing actually in it. Now that I remember it, which tells you how good the film is. He straightens it up, and so the guy, like little Italian guy who's making all these Leaning Tower of Pisa models, is like, well, that's my job over. And then the last thing that happens in the film is that he comes back and kind of leans it over, and the same guy that's now been making straight ones is like, well, this is all mine ruined again, you know. Kept the ones. That's like one of the only good jokes in it.
And I also like that. So Clark goes back home for his high school reunion, and everybody's blowing him off, except Lana Lang. So his mom's name is Laura, his girlfriend's name is Lois, and his other girlfriend's name is Lana. So
Yeah, don't think too hard about it. It's yeah, and then technically Supergirl comes out the year after. Then we get to Quest for Peace. Now, Quest for Peace again. The thing
I
you have to
watched the
remember-
first like 15 minutes, and I was like, "Wow, this is boring," and I just turned it
Yes,
off.
it's not good. There's weird stuff in it. Like, so Gene Hackman comes back. John Cryer, aka Alan from Two and a Half Men, plays Gene Hackman's son, I think it is. And there's a couple of like weird kind of like gangster mafia hitmen, Russian banker money dudes. Jim Broadbent is one of them in the background that I did not realize until literally about 2 minutes ago when I was looking down the cast and went, wait, who the hell is Jim Broadbent in this movie? Essentially what happened is that the Salkins weren't involved. They gave Christopher Reeve a large salary, and he was like, I want to deal with certain things. So that's where the nuclear disarmament stuff comes in. The trouble is the producers then kind of have major financial crises which happened. So like the budget was massively cut. There's 45 minutes of footage that they cut for testing reasons. So this is sounding a lot like the Sylvester Stallone movie that we did a few weeks ago. It's just like there's plot holes everywhere. It's just stupid. I was kind of watching it, not watching it, because I thought if I did, I would not have any brain cells left by the end. Even half watching, you just want to kind of bash your head against a wall. The main bad guy, essentially, Gene Hackman gets one of his like nephew or something like that, and to like put like a nuclear bomb and son weird something like that and becomes Nuclear Man. Like if they'd have come up with Nuclear Man in the 1950s, I would have let you off. Coming up with this as a new character in 1986/7 when this comes out, that is not acceptable. I'm sorry. You're not allowed to come up with Nuclear Man for this in the late 80s.
It is honestly crazy how far this fell in 9 years. Like it goes from the creators of Superman crying tears of joy to audiences being like, why is this a movie?
Yeah. Essentially, the reason for this is there's two movies. Supergirl, everyone hated and didn't make much money. The other thing was that they also made Santa Claus the movie, which was a massive box office flop. Budget between 30 and 50 mil, it made like 23 mil back. So they're in massive issues. Nobody liked Superman for good reason. It's awful. It's just apparently they asked Richard Donner to come back, and he's like, "No, I'm shooting a lethal weapon." Fair enough. You're allowed to do that. Good choice on that. It's
But
just
the
so
director has the coolest name, which is Sidney J. Furie, who I never heard of until every version of this I watched had, I think only the 3 movies. I don't remember if the first one had it. It had this like guy doing an introduction for the movie channel, and he's like, what you're about to watch is Superman 4, A Quest for Peace, in which the Man of Steel, directed by Sidney J. Furie. And I was like, oh my God. I love you.
But I mean, like, I'm just looking through his list of films now. Don't.
He did a kitchen sink drama called Leather Boys, which I've heard of.
Yeah, like it's yeah.
He also
Superman 4
did
is absolutely
the Ipcris Files, starring Michael Caine.
Yes, of course, that is a film that is on everyone's to watch list. It is coming out of the Criterion Collection as
And
we speak.
his real name is Shalom Joseph Fury. So, cool name. Terrible movie. Didn't make money.
And that's why there was no Superman 5.
Also, the best thing about this movie is the 2-second cutaway Family Guy bit where he's in the theater and Superman says, "No, I must become Superman 4, The Quest for Peace." Oh, that's why they call it that. And that is it. That's the only reason this movie exists.
So that gets tanked, and DC quite rightly go to other things, and they go to stuff like to Batman, and then obviously that goes off the rails, and other stuff gets started and do stuff, and then by the time it gets to 2005, 2006, they're like, "Want to do Superman again? Should we restart it from the beginning? No. Should we do a sequel to number 4? No. Should we do what Halloween H20 did and retcon sequels except for the first 2 and make this essentially a new film 3? Yes. So they decide to do that in the most confusing way ever, because it's set 5 years after, but the technology is about 25 years after. I don't understand it. I don't want to understand it.
It's very so you said this takes place after 2. I didn't watch 4, so I couldn't say how that plays into the timeline. But if it has to be retconned because Lois Lane has a kid and Superman doesn't disappear in the middle of 2 and 3, like
yeah. So essentially, this was
so
we're going
weird.
to pretend like 3 and 4 don't exist. We're going straight after number 2. We're going to change all the actors, obviously, because we have to. But this is essentially a new Superman 3.
That's another thing you could do. You could age everybody up. You could keep Superman young. You could cast Gene Hackman. Like, these aren't impossible things to do. But no, yeah, you got to make it weird by, well, it's 5 years later, but he's Kevin Spacey now.
Yeah, and not only Kevin Spacey, but it's just like you look at the cars and they're like mid 2000s cars. That's what ticked me off to it. And then you look at everything, it's like, but the tech, it's not massively obvious, but it's like this isn't like 1986, 87 tech. It's like 2002, 3 tech at the earliest. You know,
Yeah,
like it's just
this should be like 85-ish, like somewhere around there.
86 if you want to be a little bit generous.
Yeah, and it's not, it's point, you should have just rebooted it instead of trying to do, because it doesn't matter. If I just sat down and watched this and it's just a movie where Superman exists and he went away to find Kryptonians, and so Lex Luthor, by the way, just the weirdest plot point at the beginning where it's like the Titanic, there's an old lady and she's like, my husband Lex Luthor, and like at first I thought it was Ma Kent. Like it's so confusing.
I'll be honest, I completely forgot that was a thing. I watched this movie yesterday. Like it's the thing. Hilariously enough, so they cast a load of other people and they cast Brandon Routh as Superman. Hilariously enough, I know Brandon Routh from an episode of Tabletop that he did, the board gaming series with Will Wheaton. He played Dragon Farkle, which is a great episode. But that's where I'm from. I've never seen this movie, and I'm watching this and go, you know what? Brandon Routh is not the worst person ever to play Superman. He's actually pretty good for what it is. And again, you're coming after Christopher Reeve. Realistically, this is what you got to do up to, and you're not going to do that.
You're in the midst of Smallville too, like that's on CW.
Yeah,
and I love the list of people that were considered: Nicolas Cage, Josh Hartnett, I don't know who he is, Brendan Fraser, Paul Walker, Henry Cavill, and then Lois Lane's husband James Marsden, Ashton Kutcher. Keanu Reeves, Will Smith, Johnny Depp, it says James Caviezel. I'm guessing that's Jim though. So it's like the 70s. Let's just name every popular actor.
Yeah. Madness.
Yeah. And especially the weird one for me though is I don't know if I could see Nicolas Cage playing Superman as much as he loves the character. God. Like he doesn't have anything that he could contribute to being Superman, in my opinion.
No. And I mean, you also have to take into account that this film is done by Bryan Singer. Yeah.
You know what?
The fact is,
if we separate the art from the artist, he is a very competent director.
He is
of superhero films.
There's also Kevin Spacey in this movie.
Hey, he said release the Epstein list, okay? No, I'm not going into that.
No. This is not very super, man.
I love Kevin Spacey as an actor. Like, even still, yes. Now I watch his movies and I go, oh, he's the worst. But he's so captivating.
So good. That's the thing. Like, it's like times where I watch Usual Suspects and I was like, he's an awful person. But Usual Suspects 7, like, it's just, it's so annoying because he's so good. And Singer essentially cast him as Lex Luthor, and apparently he's the only person considered purely because he was working with him in The Usual Suspects and won the Oscar for Usual Suspects as well. So that's why he gets the role. Like, Frank Langella is in this as well. Like, you know.
Yeah. Cal Penn.
Yeah, Marlon Brando comes back posthumously because they just got some footage that they then reimposed over it.
Because his estate is not as stingy as he is, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, so Marlon Brando's the same. They don't get any footage of anybody else because everyone else is now different people.
Well, that's like the only way you know it's connected is Marlon Brando is his dad. Like, other than that, I wouldn't know.
Might as well just be a different movie where we jumped in and he's come back from 5 years away. And it's like, if you're going to do that, there's no reason really to connect it. You might as well get rid of that and just do a whole new thing. Why they had to connect it, I don't know. Brain cells gone. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, the film is it's good in some parts, and then there's other parts where you go, yeah, we're living in a world where Batman Begins came out the year before, especially the finale.
Well, you're in a world where not just Batman Begins just came out, but like at this point we've seen all of like the '90s Batman stuff, and the Raimi Spider-Man movies are out.
Yeah, two of them are out. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like is a Punisher out as well. One of them, like with the dark and grittier stuff, is on its way.
yeah.
You know, and the effects are at a point where you can do that stuff, but it means that you have some like this beautiful scenes where they're all in the Daily Planet, and you've got like the sunset coming in, and it's a really beautiful kind of golden sort of thing. And then you get to the big finale where it's just like, oh, let's have it in the rain and the drizzle and everything, and just make
Yeah.
everything really grey and
Let's
washed
put it in the
out.
ocean, and ugh.
We've got to
Visually,
show that it's really
disgusting.
dark, and because obviously dark, gritty movie with big things happening to him. The weirdest dark and grittier thing actually is, again, I don't want to big him up, but Kevin Spacey genuinely is the best thing about this movie,
Yeah,
because he
is.
plays absolutely manic sociopathic very naturally, strangely enough.
Well, and
Um,
I think the problem for me with Routh's Superman is he's just like he's bland. Like I don't know. You could probably say the same thing about Corn Sweat, maybe, but like I don't know. Just in terms of taste, like I don't see or feel or care much at all for Routh as Superman. He's just like a guy, and then also
yeah,
he's also Christopher Reeve, who is Superman, the
yeah.
iconic.
He is trying what he can with not very much. Um, and he does get his moments. Um, but at the same time, you're not trying to play. I think if he'd been allowed to play a slightly different version of Superman, it'd have been better for him. But because he's playing the same character that Christopher Reeve played, he's got to play that version of Superman. So whatever happens, you're just watching him going, "That's not Christopher Reeve."
Yeah,
That's all you're watching, thinking.
he's
I
he's
mean,
just a white guy with black hair. Like
yeah,
that's all he is.
yeah. Whereas, I mean, Lois Lane is so looks different enough that you can just go, "This is a different character," and Gene Hackman to Kevin Spacey for Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is so different in this.
Well, I
He's pure sociopathic rather than kind of cackling comic book villain that it allows you to do something different. They've gone, let's not try and recreate Gene Hackman. Let's have Lex Luthor just go, yeah, we're going to kill a billion people. So what? Cool. Let's have fun. I'm going to do it. Yeah, it's going to boost my things. I don't care.
the Lois Lane feels different too, and I think that has to do with her. I don't know, maybe the stage in her career and like
Yeah.
what. So there's so much of this movie that is focused on like writing articles. So much is like Lois wrote this article. Well,
Why
remember
the
that?
world doesn't need
Yeah,
Superman.
that's her big article she wrote. But then also her husband's like, you remember when you wrote My One Night with Superman? Oh, that was gross. Like,
Yeah, and again, it's trying to do the kind of whole Lois Lane and Superman, which is why they made a series called Lois and Superman, obviously.
oh my god, I
On
forgot
this,
that we had the whole Dean Cain like Superman 2 in the 90s.
yeah, it's like, but yeah, because like a lot of the characters are the same, but it seems like with Spacey's Luthor, they just went play a different version of him, whereas everybody else, I mean, even with the 5 year difference time span, like Lois Lane is who is it that actually plays Lois Lane in this movie?
Kate
Tell me.
Bosworth?
Yeah, in the nicest way to Kate Bosworth. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what else she's been in.
Nah.
I'm looking.
She's a good
at-
Lois Lane. She plays the like aggressive, hard-nosed, stubborn character well. Like she's good at that.
Yeah, she does it well, but it's like, again, I'm looking at going, are you meant to be the same? Are you meant to be not?
She
You're kind of saying, kind of the not. Oh, she was in. She was a voice in Barbarian, obviously. But on the other end of the phone, I think it was in the remake of Straw Dogs. Hilariously enough, of course, who did the first Straw Dogs? Sam Peckinpah could have got the original Superman gig. It all connects. But yeah, like she's just Lois Lane, whereas Brandon Routh, they've gone, be Christopher Reeve Superman, and that damages this. Again, so much is made infinitely better by this. Strangely enough, if you make it a remake,
And so at
just better.
at the beginning, I know Lex has a scene in his like elaborate library layer thing
I want
too.
the library.
But like the music that they're playing and all of that, like Snyder cribbed a lot off this spacey Lex Luthor, like in terms of not Jesse Eisenberg's characterization and performance, but in terms of like what's around him, the music and the trying to be philosophical and talking about like Superman is a god, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The gods wear red capes. I think he says that.
Yeah. You know the story of Prometheus,
Yeah, and then
all this kind of thing.
that's what Eisenberg is trying to do, where he's like just speaking in these like stupid grand metaphors and telling myths, and I don't care.
I can't remember it. I've tried to block that out of my mind.
Block Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor out, because the crazy part about that Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor is that he's infected mentally by Darkseid, and so he's the Joker Lex Luthor. It's weird. It's a very strange approach to the character.
Yeah, again, you some of these things you have to see them in context with other things. Obviously, Dark Knight comes out in 2008. This is now a lot of people's modern standard of how to do a more grounded superhero movie. Marvel tries very much not to do that, because they know that everyone's going to compare it to that. But if you're going to do evil genius cackling maniac, you're going to get compared to Heath Ledger's Joker. So they've gone, let's try and get in on that, and it doesn't quite work from what I vaguely remember.
There's also the first big action set piece is Superman saving a space shuttle, and then he has to like land it on a baseball field, and I think it looks good. It feels good to watch. But like, again, after watching 6.5 hours of Superman, I'm like, this is a little tedious also.
And I mean, some of the effects are typical mid 2000s effects in that they were obviously very good to the time. Now they look a little bit too rubbery and elastic, kind of for what we have now, for lots of the longer stuff. Anyway, what was even Lex Luthor's plan in this one?
So,
I've forgotten.
It's interesting you forgot it.
Tonight that he's going to try and kill Superman so that he can kill 1 billion people.
He says it out, he just exposits it, that he pulls down a map. It's much like the San Andreas one. He is going to destroy like 3/4 of the United States, to make his land worth more again. Like, it's basically just that plot over again.
Okay, so Lex Luthor, in 6 years since the first film's events, has not learned anything new. Okay, fair enough.
He pulls down a map of the future United States when it is flooded.
Lex Luthor land,
which he plans to do that. This isn't a spoiler for the Gunn movie, but it's in that. Like, there is a part where he's trying to get Luthorvania or whatever, and that's fine by itself. But like, that's weird to just make your whole plot, I'm gonna flood part of the U.S.
And then the trouble is, every time that happens, I know it came later, but I just think of like Sonic the Hedgehog and trying to make Eggman land. That's it every single time. That's all Dr. Eggman wants. He wants Eggman land. In all the original stuff, it's like that's all he wants. But yeah, like, and then
the weird part of this movie is Lois Lane has a kid, and then I forgot
to mention that.
There's the who's the dad question that is an undercurrent as Superman, and she's married to Perry White's is going to marry Perry White's nephew, played by James Marsden, and he thinks he's the dad, but at the end it's pretty much revealed that Superman is the father of this child.
Considering that the kid kind of goes and blows like a giant piano across the room or whatever it is. It's like, yes, he's the kid.
And because he does the Jor-El speech to him where he's like, the father becomes the son, and the son becomes the
Becomes the
father.
father. Whatever this means, nobody knows. It just sounds good for the film.
Yeah, and like there's too much discussion about articles, and we write articles, like we like them. There's too
I
much
like articles.
discussion about it.
Yes.
There's too much I don't know, people talking about like, oh, Superman, oh, do we need him, oh, is he good, is he I don't care, just do a story.
Yeah, like
Superman Returns as kind of like, I don't know, a theme, a jumping off point, just it didn't work out great for me personally.
yeah,
Didn't land.
and then again, you have this big what we have to do kind of fight in the middle of absolutely nowhere. It's very drab. I can't remember
On a
exactly
yacht.
what's going on. Yeah,
There's
a bit on a yacht.
kryptonite coming out of the ocean.
There's some planes. There's just stuff happening. And
Lex has a henchman with a back of the head tattoo who dies.
possibly, I don't know. It doesn't need to be 2.5 hours long. Like it's a bit of a mess. There's lots of stuff that isn't necessarily awful, kind of in sort of 5-minute chunks. Altogether, it's just kind of there. It's there. It happened. It was a thing.
And also
Move on.
this movie's hilarious end is that so doctors can't operate on Superman, and Lois has to like kiss him and
Yeah.
Sleeping Beauty him back to consciousness.
Yeah.
But he
mean-
still remembers. She doesn't have a super kiss other than waking him up.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Hilariously enough, you know who had auditioned for the role of Lois Lane in this? I'm just looking.
Are you gonna say Amy Adams?
Amy Adams. Like, apparently, also Perry White was originally going to be Hugh Laurie, but he couldn't do it. Like
That would have been great.
That would have been amazing. I'd have loved to see Hugh Laurie doing that. Hugh Laurie's not been in a Superman movie, has he? Why not? I don't know. He should be.
I think he would give a very like J. Jonah Jameson approach to Perry White, which you couldn't do because he's supposed to be Perry White from the other movies, where he's just kind of a regular. I don't know.
Yeah. You'd end up doing J.K. Simmons, wouldn't you? What the hell are you still doing? Now you're fired. You know, just like just does it so well.
Yeah, and Lois also writes, "Why the world needs Superman," and wow, this movie it's just it's not a good watch. Is my main issue with it.
It's got a decent thing of 72% on Rotten Tomatoes. But then other people have gone
72 is that like a bunch of people gave it a 5.5, so it's technically fresh.
Probably. But then other people have also gone sort of, it's just sort of there. So apparently Joe Morgenstern from Wall Street Journal. But Ralph's acting was somewhat dead or super average, nothing special. Luther was well written and well played by Kevin Spacey. Again, that's kind of the thing. Wow. I now have to see this. Apparently, Quentin Tarantino, a few years later in 2009, wrote a 20-page review about Superman Returns.
And now I'm off to Google that.
Yes. Like, it's just... Again, lots of people liked it.
You know,
I kind of didn't.
Bill's speech at the end of Kill Bill 2 about Clark Kent is the alter ego and Superman is the man is a better Superman movie than this movie.
Yeah, this is just kind of... Again, I think this would have been... I think the main issue with it is the idea of what it wants to do from the outset and what they wanted to do. If you'd have just gone... We're going to relaunch Superman. We're going to do it from scratch again. Here's our cast. Here's our actors. We're going to not even remake the 78 one, but just do a new Superman movie like James Gunn has done. It would have been better because all the building blocks are there. I think Brandon Routh is trying to do what he can, but again, is having to play Christopher Reeve. Everyone else is good. The production quality is decent. The score is decent, if nothing else. But again, you're trying to do essentially a legacy retcon sequel. And there's no reason to, because, like, aside from about two plot points with a couple of strokes of pen in about 2 hours flat, you can make it not a sequel.
And they still do Superman origin stuff in it. Like, we see little kid Clark Kent, we see Ma, like, at the beginning too. It's not like he doesn't go home for advice or something. It's just people. If this is part of that movie series, then that stuff doesn't need to be in it at all. This just needs to be contemporary. I don't understand why Lex Luthor needs to marry a rich old lady for her money. That was just weird.
And if you're going to do like I mean, there's a thing that obviously sort of, because it's been so long since Superman 2, we need to explain that it's a sequel to Superman 2, and therefore we need to do a bit of explanatory. But if you need to go through all that way to just go, oh, this is a sequel. But the only real linger plot point to Marlon Brando, I don't think you see Christopher Reeve in anywhere like that. So you're not even using it in the marketing, which is what something like Doctor Sleep would do, kind of trading off The Shining. So I still don't understand what the thinking of behind it to make it a sequel was.
I don't know.
An alternate timeline where he comes back from the that point then lags through the entire film. And you're wanting them to bring back in like a plot point. Maybe you tell you what, if he'd have gone round the earth a couple of times and gone, I remember doing this before, I'm going to do it again. Maybe that's justifying making it a sequel. You don't.
Why is that not how he solves every problem? Is just my question. Oh, there's something bad happening? Hang on, I'm going to fly back in time and stop
Hang on,
that.
it's never going to happen. I can literally stop you from having gotten the ability to have me stop you in the first place.
And then also, this is a Superman movie that is a sequel, that is, it's part of that film series, but also, people are familiar with Superman, but they take a whole bit an hour into the movie to go, yeah, Superman has super hearing and he has super sight, and they're like, ooh, I would use that super sight, which he uses it to see if Lois Lane has lung cancer from smoking. He has, he can fly, and he has super strength, and he can fly around the world and turn time. And they're just listing off every power Superman has, while Clark Kent is over there super hearing all of it. And it's weird, and it's dumb, and you're an hour into the movie. Why do I need someone to say, yeah, Superman has laser vision, and he has cold breath, and hang on, let me Google this. Let me get a full list.
Yeah, I mean, and then sort of there was going to be a sequel kind of in development.
Jesus Christ. But then The Dark Knight came out, and they were like, never mind.
Well, no, it was originally going to start in sort of mid-2007. I'm just reading here, and then like Singer kind of wanted to do something else, and then somebody else wants to do something else, and something else wants to do something else, and just like the main people kind of do something else while they're waiting for everybody else to get back on board. Yeah. But then it ends up being like a game of Monopoly at Christmas, where you never actually play the game because somebody's else doing something whilst they're off, somebody else does something, they come back and somebody else goes, and you never actually sit around the table and finish the game.
While all that is happening, Marvel puts their movies together and drops the Avengers, and they're like, Zack Snyder, we watched Watchmen, we need you.
Well, admittedly, Man of Steel and Avengers come out the same year, but I think by the time it gets sort of...
Oh, I thought they were 2 years apart. I think they're 1 year apart.
Man of Steel 2013.
Yeah. I thought
it's already going to be in development at that point, isn't it? I think, but yeah, the fact that Marvel are kind of... You keep pushing this back and back, but even by sort of 2010, you've got two Iron Mans, you've got Hulk, Thor and Captain America are coming out next year. You've seen the post-credits things about, I'm putting together the Avengers Initiative.
Yeah.
You know what's coming forward.
Not even that, like in the industry, like I'm sure people at DC knew what Marvel was like about to drop. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they knew it was going to drop that well. I also think
with a bunch of like nobodies, like not that Iron Man and Captain America, they're vaguely like in American culture at least, but I mean compared to Batman and Superman, they were nobodies, And
Yeah.
meanwhile, Superman is like, you can't get a film off the ground.
Yeah.
And Nolan's doing his thing, but
Yeah.
it's all separate, and it's its own
Yeah.
universe, and it has a specific tone to it. And yeah.
I mean, I think that's probably another film article in itself, that in the first 25 years of this, the first 25 years of this century, possibly the Avengers is the film that has completely changed at least the blockbuster landscape the most.
The Dark Knight, Watchmen, and the Avengers just ruined DC for a decade.
Yeah, I actually just the others obviously got the critical and the box office, things like that, but the Avengers then rewrites how you do franchises completely, just singular, just
Yeah.
drops.
Yep.
And now the entire industry has just changed like that. You know, for the fact that they're still trying to get Avengers 5 and 6, and it's not working because they're wanting to recapture that thing.
What's crazy is that's the comic book like method. I don't know why nobody thought of it until Kevin Feige was like, what if we put them all in one movie?
Well, the thing is with that is that you have to make sure that all the parts are in place, because otherwise you end up with a 5-hour movie because you've got to introduce five different characters.
You end up
So
with Justice League, where you had 2 movies, and that is it.
And I mean, technically, you have done it before, because we did stuff like Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, or the Monster Rallies and stuff like that. The thing with this is that I don't think anybody wanted to take a massive risk on essentially pumping sort of realistically between the 6 films, if you think about it, because you've got Hulk, you've got the 2 Iron Men, you've got Thor, Captain America, and then Avengers, over a like 5-6 year period. Let's say each one is 150 mil budget. You're closing in on $1 billion, and even if you have abilities to pull out of doing kind of Avengers things, you've got the plan in when you're pitching Iron Man, because you've snuck it in at the end with Nick Fury.
Right.
So the thing with Avengers, and we will link this back to Superman very quickly, because this is why it obviously got delayed. The thing with Avengers is that Marvel and Disney essentially went, we are going to take, realistically, although you can get out of it in various ways in developments and cutting footage for the later films, you're essentially planning for a realistically $1 billion 6-year, 7-year massive gamble. It is absurd to consider.
Yep.
Like, imagine pitching that. Like, I'm now thinking of it going, the mind can't get around it. I think I'm going to have to do an entire article series on just the momentous thing of having to do those first 6 films.
Well, then
when that's in development, you can't do, and with the Superman Returns sequel being pushed back, you just can't do it, because the landscape has changed by the time you've got it. So they've got to redo something. So they come up with Man of Steel and go to BVS.
You'll write that article, and I'll do a concurrent but disconnected but somewhat connected series about the DC movies, because Man of Steel, like, it does okay, it makes decent money, but then its sequel is Batman versus Superman, and it's like, you know, I said Superman, you know, the Gunn one is in media res. Well, that one is in, like, there's been 15 movies, and then Batman versus Superman happens. With the level of, like, things in the background and the building for injustice, which, why are we already built? I don't know. And then, you know, it just, Man of Steel by itself, I'm okay with it as, like, an interpretation of Superman. It's like a graphic novel, you know, it's a different approach.
It's a different approach, and it's an interesting one. And again, when you've had kind of Nolan's 3 Batman movies, you want to do the same thing with Superman. It's an interesting way to take it. And, you know, with these characters, sometimes they should be stupid and silly, but at the same time, you know, these are questions that kind of need to be posed, and it's an interesting way to pose it. It's not the only way to do it, but going, what would happen if this was the case, is an interesting question to pose. The trouble is that then BVS is essentially DC going into panic mode.
Yes.
Because Avengers happened. What they haven't, they're introducing a new Batman. Mm-hmm. And they're hoping essentially that the lore of a different Batman,
a new Batman who is an old man Batman based on a very specific one-off, like, graphic novel.
Yeah,
or series of graphic novels. I can't
and
remember
then
which one.
essentially DC are just at the point where they just have to run with it,
Yeah,
and hope. And we know
Snyder's
that this whole thing doesn't work if you don't build it up properly. Look at Universal.
Snyder's
Like,
Man of Steel is not the foundation for a universe of films because
no,
it's grim, and then Batman vs Superman is grim and stupid.
yes,
I've watched both versions. The Ultimate does not make it better. It's still
yes,
dumb. And then after you just have all these basically disparate films coming out trying to be a universe when they're not. And we don't
no,
get the Flash movie until after Justice League, and we don't get the Cyborg movie ever. And
yeah.
and finally, James Gunn gets fired from Disney because of some tweets somebody dug up, and we finally have Superman back on track.
Yeah, it's it's a wild ride. As much as we want to bash superhero films, we always say that kind of the big kind of tentpole blockbusters that make the money are the reasons why the small ones get funded.
Yeah,
They're the reasons
Disney
why.
owns what is that called now? What's the tiny Searchlight? Like
Yeah,
without Marvel movies, Searchlight is not pumping out movies the way they do.
I was going to say, and even things like obtaining kind of distribution rights to films. So I know something like we did Queen of Katwe a number of years ago, about a year and a half ago. Something like that, which is a little couple of $1 million movie about chess players in the slums of Africa. If you don't have the money to at least purchase the distribution rights, that film's never going to get seen, you know. So even if they're not pumping in the production money, they're buying the rights to show that on their platform. And if they don't have the tentpole movies, they don't have the clout in order to go see it. So the tentpole movies do have a purpose. And even if people bash on remakes all the time, you know what? Most of the time, with some exceptions, a lot of the time people will go and see them because it's a known quantity for them, it's a known quantity for the people making it. That's why they go and see it. That's what brings the money in. So they do have their purpose, and it's not all we need to bring. Oh, the great, amazing little ideas that can be made for about $5 that are somehow better than everything else. No, in some ways, but also not. So these films are still important. They are still changing the landscape. And if you go all the way back, again, Superman Returns is an interesting way to try and do it. I think it got the good intentions and ideas, and at the right time, it was a decent move strategically. Questionable in terms of how they work the plot. But then again, going back to the Christopher Reeve 1978, I think that will be seen, if not as one of the greatest movies, I think definitely one of the most important films, at least in terms of kind of, again, we always say Western feature film narrative filmmaking, because it's obviously not influential on kind of like little tiny experimental films in any way, and that is still filmmaking and valid. We should do some of those at some point and get away from the features. But in terms of the features, 1978 Superman is probably up there in like 30 or 40 most influential in terms of the legacy of what it did for the industry of all time, probably.
Yeah. And what we see now with Gunn Superman is that, I mean, Superman just looks to be like an American quantity at this point. Like it's not doing super well overseas. Super well. It's not doing great overseas, but it's killing at the domestic box office.
Yeah,
So
I don't know what the box office is.
it's tracking to make like 500 or 600, I think, like
Yeah,
worldwide. Which
Superman at the moment, I don't think it's updated today. It's currently sat at 250 mil. This may be a day or two behind, with 155 mil made from the US and 95 mil made from overseas. So it's 60-40 split.
Yeah, and I think part of the issue with it is like, they're elements to it that are like cultural or political critique, but I feel like it mostly stays away from that. And maybe if I haven't read external reviews, but maybe if you're outside the US, you see like, oh, there's not enough critique of like fascism and stuff. But if you're inside the US, it's like, oh, yay, a feel good, happy Superman that I could just watch this and have a happy evening at the cinema and not have to think about rising fascism for one day. for 2 hours.
I mean, at this point, I think it would help them an awful lot more if you say that these big blockbusters, can we cap them at 100 mil budget? Because another thing is everyone's pumping in like 300 mil into a film, expecting it to be like over $1 billion, and it's like,
Yeah,
these are for like
Not-
rare exceptions. This isn't the norm.
this isn't 2019, guys.
Yeah, currently I'm looking at again worldwide box office and Box Office Mojo. So far this year, there are 6 films that have got over $500 million, and they are Neja 2, which has been at like 1.9 billion from essentially the Chinese market since it came out within like the first 3 weeks of the year, and after that, the nearest to it is Lilo and Stitch, which is under $1 billion. Minecraft's got 955 mil. Then the next one is Mission Impossible at 584, How to Train Your Dragon 564, and then Jurassic World Rebirth, which admittedly will go up from this because it's not been out a week, 2 weeks yet.
I think it's in its 3rd week, I think.
Something like that. It's got 544 mil, so like it might get to 600, 700 mil, but admittedly, Jurassic World did like, it's still like the top 10 of all time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
If filmmakers decide, oh, let's actually make them for like 100 mil and not pay like the actors like 12 million to be in it for 3 minutes, like Marlon Brando, they might actually make the money back, because if you essentially go, we need 250 mil to break even, this is probably where you're aiming for, and if it gets towards 400, 500, this is an amazing profit. And probably by having to scale back on some of the stuff, you'll actually have better writing instead. Yep. But this is another topic for another time.
Well, and that the smaller, other than like Nathan Fillion's in it, and I mean the Nicholas Hoult, like they're probably the biggest names, and that works in its favor too. Where I don't really know these two people, whereas. Once you're on like Justice League, if you don't like the Snyder movies, you're like, oh my god, another. Like I don't dislike Henry Cavill, but like I don't think he's a very good actor, and I don't know. He has no draw for me. I think people just like him because he's a nerd. So
yeah.
Anyway, very handsome nerd.
And English.
Yeah. Why did they cast a British Superman? I don't. He looks like him. That's really the only answer.
Considering they didn't want to cast a Superman in the original because he wasn't American. Yeah. They didn't want to cast David Prowse. Admittedly, Superman with this accent wouldn't really work.
That would be so funny. I would love to see. He crash lands in Scotland and becomes I don't know.
I mean, that's not Scotland. That's more Gloucestershire. It's essentially somebody coming from Hot Fuzz becoming Superman.
He crashes in Newcastle and becomes a coal miner. That's the British Superman.
This is we should do a what if episode and just have some fun. But
super colonizer.
We'll say that for another day. No, that is Superman. Anyway,
yeah. So that's Superman. We're done.
We're rambling now. Let's bring it back down to earth.
Well, thank you for watching. We've actually had consistent viewer. People like Superman. Thank you for listening to us ramble about him and superhero movies. But we'll be back next week with something else. I don't think it'll be Superman movies.
Are we doing Fantastic Four next week?
Okay, it will be superhero movies. Maybe not. I don't remember if that's next week or not.
I think our plan was Fantastic Four. We should also obviously say that if you like this episode, go listen to our recent Gene Hackman episode.
Yeah.
That we did a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Something. We obviously saved these movies because we knew they'd be coming up.
Which this is my being Kieran. I mentioned it there, but I love the South Park episode where Christopher Reeve, he became paralyzed. He fell off a horse, and in a South Park episode, he is like eating fetuses to gain his strength back, and he becomes like evil Superman, and Gene Hackman has to come stop him. And it's great. So
beautiful. Right, let's wrap this up. We're going off.
Well, Kieran, where can people find you?
Hopefully nowhere, but if you want to, okay, Judgmental in the various places. I don't think I've got anything uploaded on the this Substack recently, but I am looking to go to see I Know What You Did Last Summer tomorrow, so hopefully that should be over the next few days.
Yes, which in our chat, Kieran abbreviated to the letters.
It's just easier to put down than I Know What You Did Last Summer. That's for sure.
And it took me a second, because I've never seen that as like an acronym. So it was funny. Sam is at SSP Thinks Film, and he's written stuff. I don't remember what. Sorry, Sam. And then you could find me. Oh, he did the Jurassic World review. He wrote that. Rebirth with Scarlett Johansson, where she's dressed like Vin Diesel for half the movie. And
What?
yeah, she's just wearing a white tank top, and the only difference is she's not walking around going, we'll go. She does her normal voice. You can find me at Jacob Film Guy. I wrote our Superman review, and I mean, you can tell what I thought of it, but still go read it.
Yep, please do.
Yeah, so that's it. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Adios.